The Holger-26 was added into Modern Warfare, and I wanted to share some of my opinions about it. Now, this is very initial impressions. I think I'm just now level 20 with it, but I wanted to get a video out now that the gun is new instead of waiting until I'm max level with the gun gold and everything. So this video is partly about the Holger, and the video is also about the current state of weapon balance in Modern Warfare and Call of Duty's problem with ease of use. And I didn't misspeak, I mean Call of Duty's problem. It's not just limited to Modern Warfare, you'll also see it in other FPS games as well. But for the most part, we're going to be talking about Call of Duty as a whole. So first, talking about the Holger-26, how do I feel about it? Just, base weapon, getting kills with it, how does it feel? It's good. I like it. It's intuitive. It doesn't kick too much. It doesn't side to side too much. It's not too vertical for me, so recoil's good and manageable. The large 100 round magazine is great for keeping people pinned behind cover and pre-firing, and I like that a lot. Its rate of fire is decent enough that you can use this thing in close range, you can suppress people with it, but not so fast that you're gonna burn through 100 rounds too quickly. You can do some nice sustained fire with this weapon. So they kind of gave us a middle of the road LMG with decent damage. The weapon's gonna be, I think, a 4 to 6 shot kill depending on the range that you're at and if you're shooting through cover, and you can lessen that by about 1 if you land a headshot. Since the gun is relatively accurate for an LMG and has a lot of ammo, just try to get your sight up on the head during a gunfight and you'll likely get the kill if the person isn't just slightly more accurate than you or using an easier weapon, but I'm getting ahead of myself. But this gun does have a bonus that other LMGs don't have. From what I saw in Exclusive Aces video, because I'm too lazy to test this shit myself, is it has the sprint out time of an assault rifle. I definitely felt this in my gameplay. I felt like I could push people pretty well with this weapon compared to other LMGs, which is good. It is more geared to aggressive playstyles, especially when you consider the fact it doesn't have a belt-fed box mag, and you can reload it a lot faster than you can the PKM or the M91. What's kind of funny is that this weapon kind of fills the role of the SA-87, but in my opinion, just feels better. I think my SA-87 is around level 20, and now my Holger-26 is about level 20, and I would go with the Holger every time, even with no attachments. This weapon has a faster reload than the other LMGs, the belt-fed LMGs. It has a faster sprint out time than the belt-fed LMGs, but it just lacks in that damage department. The PKM, even though it fires pretty much at the same speed, can get a 3-shot kill, whereas the Holger-26 has no body multipliers. So yes, I'm getting this from Ace's video. I'm not trying to steal content here, but I do encourage you to watch his video for more detailed stats on the gun. But what I'm saying is that the PKM, in the same engagements where you're going to be using an LMG like posted up, the PKM is just going to win every time. It's only when you play aggressively with the Holger does it do better, but then when you're in those aggressive gunfights and you're competing against M4s and MP5s and MP7s, that's where you start to lose a lot of gunfights. This weapon is relatively easy to use, and I think its best traits are its sprint out time and its reload time, especially for the amount of ammo you start with. You can use a 30-round magazine to speed the weapon up and make it a little bit more agile, but in my opinion, I don't really need a 4 to 5 shot kill assault rifle when I could be using any other assault rifle. Hell, I could use the M4, have 60 rounds, and just kill people faster and have a lighter, more agile gun by default. The M13, the M4, and the Kilo 141 and the AK-47 give you 30 rounds by default. They're automatic weapons. You don't need to add an attachment to make them assault rifles, and so I genuinely don't see the point, other than just for fun, converting this thing into an assault rifle. You're better off using something else. It's the same opinion I have about using the conversion kit on the AK-47. If you're going to use the conversion kit on the AK-47, you might as well be using something like a Kilo or an M4 if you're going to lower your damage and range. Because weapons like the Kilo, M13, and M4 don't require an attachment slot, a precious attachment slot, to be what they are. And so turning this into an assault rifle basically means you have less ammunition and you have a kind of moderate to low damage assault rifle. We will be revisiting this gun later on, and I'm not saying that this is a bad thing. I'm saying that I don't see a competitive point to doing it, though I guess it is cool and I'm glad that they give you the option. But Modern Warfare has a weapon balance problem that is as old as Call of Duty is itself. And it's frustrating because every time I bring this stuff up, somebody is very quick to tell me that they're really good with the underpowered weapons. That doesn't matter. First of all, you can't prove that you're good with those weapons, so stop wasting YouTubers' time by telling everyone how good you are. Nobody can ever get to see that. You guys actually have to see my gameplay and see my weaknesses and my strengths. No one has to see yours. Second of all, just because you have good games with an underpowered weapon doesn't mean it's not underpowered. And 3, people like to do well in competitive video games, so do not blame people for not running underpowered shit when they're trying to have a good time. Because some people don't have a good time by getting gold camo and progressing through challenges, they want to win the damn game they're in. Some people have more fun using overpowered weapons and calling in streaks and kicking your ass than they do using weapons for variety's sake and getting challenges completed. I'm not saying I agree with those people, but I'm saying I don't care if you're good with an underpowered weapon. I'm sorry, it just doesn't matter. Modern Warfare has a problem just within its own assault rifle category of these weapons that require shot pacing and accuracy. They're only good at specific ranges and in certain types of engagements. Guns like the FAMAS, the Odin, the FAL, and to an extent the AK-47, despite it being more versatile than the weapons I just said. But those weapons are more skill-based, they're more specifically oriented around certain playstyles, but you could just use a Kilo. You could just use an M4, and if you want close range engagements and you're going to focus more on aggressive play, then you could just run the M13 with its very good skeleton stock, and we'll be making a video about that soon. These are weapons that are just less difficult to use. They have less recoil, they're more versatile, and they will be used more than other weapons are. Those are the guns that you put a red dot on somebody, you hold the trigger until they're dead, you don't really worry about the recoil, you don't really worry about what range you're at too much unless you're using the M13. And these weapons, statistically, might fall short in some categories in terms of damage or reload speed or something along those lines, or hipfire spread, but their ease of use is incredibly imbalanced compared to the rest of the weapons in the game. You're not getting killed by the M4 because the M4 is super goddamn OP. You're getting killed by the M4 and the Kilo if you start paying attention. People are using the Kilo a lot right now, and the MP5 and the MP7. The reason being is because those weapons are easy to use. Same with the AUG. They're easy, consistent recoil weapons that you put the red dot on somebody, hold the trigger, and they die. And most people would rather do that. So in Modern Warfare and in many other FPS games and every single Call of Duty game you play, you're constantly going to be countering some sort of ease of use meta when using weirder weapons. There has never been a Call of Duty game where everything's overpowered. That's not a thing. That's not how hierarchies form. That's absolutely factually impossible. Weapons will always rise to the top, and that's okay. Whether in popularity or by statistical measure, they will rise to the top. That's understandable, it's okay, but they can do more things to mitigate it. The best thing to do is to not nerf the powerful weapons, but buff the other weapons to their level, because you don't want weapons feeling unfun to use. But it's not that simple to just buff weapons, because if you buff ARs to the point that they're really good at, like, let's say long range, there's no point in using LMGs or DMRs. If you buff SMGs so that they're better outside of their effective range, there's less of a use of using an AR because an SMG is faster and doing relatively the same thing on most maps with most engagements. See what I'm saying? Modern Warfare has a ways to go in a lot of cases for a lot of people, but the big one on my mind right now is the weapon balance and how some weapons just require, and I hate saying this, too much skill compared to other weapons. It's really hard to feel motivated getting the FAMAS gold because when I'm using the FAMAS and I get killed by an M4 in the time it takes my second burst to fire, it makes it hard to want to keep playing with that gun. I think the more well-rounded Call of Duty players in this game that play Modern Warfare are going for progress and performance, trying to get challenges done while also trying to play well, and some weapons just don't let that happen. What I am noticing in Modern Warfare though is people are using weapons like the Kar98, the Mark II carbine, they're using the Odin, they're using the FAMAS despite them not being as easy. My personal problem is that when I'm using those weapons, I think this is fun, I'm doing well, let's say I get a chopper gunner with it, wow that's so awesome, but then the crushing realization that I am handicapping myself by running this weapon hits me and it makes me want to go use overpowered stuff. But then of course, there's a stigma around that on YouTube. If you guys saw me getting chopper gunners with the M4 all day and every gameplay was me using the M4 and a different variation, you guys would start to be like, okay, this is boring as hell to watch. The Holger-26 is a solid gun, but unfortunately the PKM will kill you a lot faster. And in close ranges, you're gonna get killed by the M4, you're gonna get killed by the M13 before your third shot can even ring out, and keeping in mind you need to land 4 of them. So it's a more aggressive LMG that can't compete against the other aggressive weapons in this game in terms of mobility, in terms of sprint out time when it comes to like the SMGs, when it comes to versatility, when it comes to like the Kilo and the M4. A lot of those are just going to beat the Holger, and you have to swallow that when you're playing with the weapon, and I'm sorry to say. Now, I'm not trying to encourage you to just stick on the M4. Like I said at the end of my FAMAS video, play around with this game's variety. This game has so many cool things you can do with the weapons. It's a damn shame that there's like about 4 or 5 guns you could point out in this game that are just incredibly easy to use, and that many people feel demotivated to try anything else. Some people get some sort of righteous indignation because they don't use powerful weapons, but then still complain when they're losing games because they're not having fun. Using a bad gun and losing isn't fun. And the people that want to pretend that, oh, it's more fun to lose with a bad gun than it is to win with a good one, you can pretend that if you want. But tell me if you think that next time you're pinned in your spawn by somebody running an M4, next time you're losing your 5th engagement to that dude with the MP5 setup that's just murking the absolute hell out of your Uzi, let me know if you're really having fun. Your righteous indignation doesn't mean anything to people that want to win. So guns like the Holger here might be good, might be solid, but they're just not better. And that's the problem. And that's a problem that goes back years and years and years, and it's not specific to Modern Warfare, and the only way they can fix it is by bringing guns more in line with other more powerful weapons, and taking really powerful weapons and really easy weapons and toning them down a little bit. I think if they increase the first shot recoil on weapons like the Kilo and M4 by about 7%, so that way your first shot takes you a little bit more off target than you're used to, and makes you less of a laser beam at long range where maybe you should be using a DMR or an LMG. Anyway, thank you for coming to my tangent. I know this video was less about the Holger and more about me ranting about weapon balance and stuff like that, but either way, I think the Holger is a lot of fun. I look forward to leveling it up, and I will be making another video about it once I've gotten more attachments and more camos and stuff on it. So stay tuned for that. I will see you when I see you. Goodbye.